Okay, well, we're recording. But hey, welcome back to the podcast. This is episode number 3. I'm here with Ryan Jarosz, my brother, and on top of that, he is not only an artist with his own side hustle of Felixx, but he is also the author of this here book, The World According to Felixx. Now, this is actually pretty awesome. This is a great book. Ryan does some great work. I'm gonna just flip over here. Where's Ryan? Here's Ryan.
Hey,
there he is.
Right here.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. Well, I think what's gonna be really cool about this is that we're on a podcast together. We've been talking about doing this for years, and we even did some test runs, which were pretty terrible. But before we even get started, I was about a little top off here.
I do like bourbon, so I'm in.
So today we're actually drinking a little Four Roses. Feel free to join us. If not, you're watching this during the day and need a little coffee, drink a little coffee, grab something. The best way to listen to these things is to take it on the go. But hey, all that kind of stuff. So hey, we're glad to get started here. We've got a little setup. This is kind of a new little test here at home base to see if we can get...
It's cozy in here. It's nice. Enjoy it.
It's cozy, it's warm, and at some point we'll have a better space. But if you take a look, we've got 2 cameras that are working right here. Those are actually our phones, and we're just streaming that right to the computer. But we do have
dual.
Just the
we're both in it.
Look at that! How about that? It's cozy. And it's even cozier when you're sipping on a little...
The producer's working on a budget.
A shoestring budget. This is called bootstrapping, by the way.
It's hipster.
It is hipster. And we're going to get there. Someday we're going to look backwards at this and be like, oh, remember when we got our start here at Dirksen?
And now we're in Manhattan.
Take a look at that. Nah, I'm not going to Manhattan.
Give me Wyoming. I'll be there.
Oh, now we're talking. But hey, look, Ryan has this book out. We're going to talk a little bit about that today. The creative process, family life, what it means to be doing all of that together. You're going to want to stick around for this conversation because Ryan's just an awesome guy. He has just a great mind. It's certainly when it comes to being creative. His doodles, his drawings, his poems. Oh, he's got just a great thing going on. So if you're not following him already, at him on Instagram, and you're also on Facebook too, right?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook. Instagram's my biggest social media site, along with the website, rexfelixx.com. But also, yeah, if you follow me, check it out on Instagram. I'm just nonstop doodling. Sorry, this chair is like a death trap. No, I'm just nonstop drawing and creating poetry and writing, so it's fun.
I feel like you're always producing. Like there's always something coming out, maybe twice a day. You know, there's always. I don't know how you do it. How do you keep up with the amount of productivity you have going on?
I really don't know. I think my brain is just so, I guess, always working. So I'm always on the go in my head. So I'm like, oh, let me draw this turtle, eating a hot dog or something. It's the most random things that go in my brain. So as many people don't know, I work in insurance, and that's my main gig right now, insurance sales. So it can get very, let's just say it's like autopilot, where it's the same mundane thing, talking about insurance nonstop. So that's my creative outlet, has been doing Rex Felixx and drawing and getting a way to get my creative juices going. Mm-hmm. So to help me stay sane or to break away from just the corporate world, I've been able to create, and that's how I'm able to stay productive, is just I think staying active with my creative brain to help me do the corporate side of my life.
Wow. No, I feel like that is a place where a lot of people find themselves. It's like I'm just working, and I need some sort of outlet to get these creative juices out. So, how did it even start? how did you even start doing Felixx? Like, where did that even come from?
Well, I was born, and then my mom. Hey, Mom. I was starting to draw when I was really young and in school and everything, and I guess Felixx came up when I first started working in my insurance job. It's 15 years now, but I just had pads of paper, and I'm like, I got all this free paper. I should just keep drawing on it. So they gave us free Sharpies and highlighters, and I just kept drawing doodles. And then I was like, what should I call this? And in my brain, I'm like, I don't know. And then I just started looking up Latin words, and Rex means king, and then Felixx means like lucky or happy. So I was just like, well, I'm a positive guy. So all of a sudden, it just popped in my brain, and I started just writing that on everything. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I got something there. I don't know what it is at this stage of my life. Like, this is 2008. I'm like, I don't know what I've got, but I like the name, and I kept rolling with it and just kept drawing. So before drawing in sketchbooks, I was just drawing on like work paper with like the company stuff all on there. I'm like, well, I'll just keep using this, and everyone gave me recycling paper to just keep drawing. And I just started handing out drawings at work nonstop, and I was like, here you go, here's some comics. So that's where it started. It was like 15 years ago. At which point I just decided, like, all right, well, I want to make something out of this. You know, what can I do with this? You know.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, I just decided to get the courage and just take a leap into the social media atmosphere 10 years ago or whatever, and been drawing since and posting daily for the most part.
So I think one of the things that I remember early, you did the Got Ryan Jarosz t-shirts. And we were giving those away at like youth group. You were selling them with friends. Everybody's walking around with Got Ryan Jarosz. It's just a white t-shirt, black print. You just start selling those things around, and I feel like you've always had that creative sell.
Yeah, I guess I'm a salesman by nature. I don't know. I was born with it. I like to think outside the box. I'm not like an anarchist, but I don't like authority. You know, people telling me what to do.
Oh, man.
I'm like the exact opposite of a corporate man, even though I work in corporate America. So I'm always butting heads. My inner body's just like, okay, what are you doing? Why am I doing this? Which is also where I'm at with creative drawing, and the stuff I write is always about breaking free from corporate life. But yeah, the Got Ryan Jarosz was a chorus trip we had senior year. We were going to New York City to sing at Carnegie Hall, which is pretty sweet.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that was one of the best memories of my life. And I needed to raise money. I asked my dad, I'm like, hey, Pops, you think I could have $300? And you know my dad.
I would hope so.
He's
you know my dad.
You know my dad, right? Hey. He's got a stogie in his mouth. He's like, no, you gotta earn it. You gotta figure it out. I'm like, okay, how am I gonna do this? I gotta get this. So I was like, let me put my name on a t-shirt. And like Got Milk was a big popular thing, and I was like, all right, well, Got Ryan Jarosz with a question mark at the end. I don't know what it means. But I was like, yeah, let's put my name on there. And I was like going around schools. I ended up just pressing them on like the not screen printing, whatever you call it, like the vinyl, and you're pressing it on in high school, and you're like, hey, I got shirts, $5. And everyone's like, yeah, I'll buy one. So I raised like almost $300 just by having people buy them to help me pay for my chorus trip. And that's where it started. And I figured the original idea behind Got Ryan Jarosz was Tommy Hilfiger, Ralph Lauren all have their names on everything. Mm-hmm. It's not like they're that cool, you know, they're kind of nerdy weirdos. So like I was like, well, I'm kind of nerdy and I'm a goofy weirdo, so let me do that. So it worked. I still got extras if anyone wants any. Do
you really?
Yeah. I still got some if anyone wants any.
You should put those up for sale.
Just do a flash sale.
$30 this time. $5 a piece. That's a steal.
I'll just throw them out. Vintage. I should do a random giveaway.
Dude, it is vintage at this point. You know, people will pay top dollar for that. Felixx, selling off an early make.
I mean, you never know. It could be some money right there.
I think you're right. I want to go back to two things that you said. The first thing was the authority piece. So I share that same thing. Not that I hate authority. Authority has to be correct. I hate when there's a chain of command that I'm in, and then somebody that's not in that chain of command tries to assert their authority. And you're like, whoa, hold on a second. I can't stand. So I have to be behind a clear chain of command, right? So like, who's my boss? You're my boss. I'm seeking your vision, and I'm here to do the best that I can for whatever it is that you're putting forth. So like, in ministry, Father Leon, he's my boss. I'm there to serve him. When other people step into that and are like, oh, let me tell you how you're going to do your job, I've got problems with that.
Right,
right. I always have. So, other than that, I'm super comfortable making my own path, right? Like, don't sit here and do something that you're trying to just push buttons and force your own way. You know, like, if I'm following a command structure, hey, I know who I'm following. I'm going to serve that. If I'm doing it myself, if I have that guidance of, hey, take care of it, go make the path. I'm making the path. I don't need somebody else to be like, oh, hey, you know what? You're actually not doing it right. I'm sorry, who are you?
Right.
I'm just somebody else, but I'm going to tell you how it is. Nah, that's not how it's going to work. I was actually just talking to Nicole at work about that, and I feel like it comes up often. I was like, I'm an authority guy, right? Like, the authority has to be right. People can't just make inroads and try to create their own authority. The other piece here, talking about that entrepreneurship that Dad kind of brought us up.
Right.
Implementing in our own lives from like childhood. Remember when my bike was stolen years ago? This was back in South Buffalo, but we had these awesome bikes, and my bike kept getting stolen. So after a number of the bikes were stolen, I went up to Dad, same type of thing. I said, Dad, my bike was stolen. I need to get a new one. You're going to have to earn it. What? Here's what you're going to do. And so he took me and Ryan and said, all right, I'm going to buy your first case of pop or first couple of cases of pop. I'm going to take you to the golf course, drop you off, and you're going to sell them. 75 cents a can. And you're going to sit there with a nice smile on your face, ask the guys how is their game going, and if you're really good, they might let you keep the full $1, right?
Yeah, I remember that.
Maybe they'll give you a tip if you put on extra charm, but you're going to have to sell it. Okay. I mean, I was maybe 10 years old, right? And so I
was 8, yeah, and that was crazy, but it was just like, yeah, at an early age in South Buffalo, we just were dropped off at a golf course, and there was a hole in the fence, and we had a cooler, and we just sat there, and I'm like, this is back in the day when you wouldn't get arrested for anything like that. Like, you know, you could go and sell pop on a golf course without worrying. Right. Now you need all the permits and all this and everything else like that. And so we got dropped off. We had like Barks root beer, we had Coke, we had Diet Coke, and we sold out. We sold our first cooler like the first couple hours, like 3-4 hours. A bunch of quarters, a bunch of dollars, and a coffee can that we put in there. And then we got picked up. We did it again for the whole summer, basically. And, you know, I think that was a nice experiment, like, to figure out, like, entrepreneurship.
Yeah, Dad put that into our DNA. And we did earn that bike. And years later, when I was in high school, we had prom that was coming up. So I could have went and got a job. But I was like, you know what? I want to make a job. And so me and Matt Harris, buddy of mine in high school, were like, all right, let's do a lawn mowing business. And so we just took our lawnmowers and went around the neighborhood with some flyers. We just printed up some flyers, and we're like, hey, we're going to do a really good job for you. We're just going to charge you $10 per cut. And we're going to make sure that the sidewalks are cleaned up and that you have nice, crisp lines. Right, and we were just stealing people from the neighborhood contractors who were coming in with the big ride-ons that were just zipping things up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the neighbors were just like, neighborhood kid, you're going for prom? Sure, yeah. Sign me up, $10 a lawn. It's a steal. And it was.
I mean, that was.
But
it's cheap.
But we had a whole list of clients that we were going to every week. We had so much that we hired Mike Gordzig, hey Mike, to come and do lawns too, right? But he had a ride-on tractor, but the tractor was tearing up the lawns, and it was leaving such a mess that we let him go. We're like, hey man, the tractor's not working.
Oh.
Because if the lawns were wet, right, if we had to push mowers, they were fine. But he was going through the mud, just trotting it all up. I was like, this isn't going to work. People were complaining. We're giving money back. I'm like,
but you got the prom. You made it to prom?
We made it to prom. We made a killing off of it. Yeah, we got a limo, paid for our tuxes, paid for all of our tickets. I mean, it was...
Harbor Center at the Admiral Club at the Key Bank Center.
Yeah, that's right. It's very nice. It's very nice. But, so that was the second taste of that. And Dad, and this is where I think dads could really step into the game in teaching your kids something that is not taught in school, because we didn't learn entrepreneurship from going through normal schooling. That was a dad thing. That was a father thing who taught us. You know, hey, go make $1. His saying growing up was always, son, this is America. There's just money laying out in the streets. All you have to do is go up there and pick it up. And he would say that a lot. And that was something that got instilled in me and gave me a hunger for that. And that's why I find myself building Righteous Co. for the future, right? Is to put this into some serious treads and say, hey, I want a future built around that, where A, the authority is not laid on somebody else to give me a paycheck, and B, man, I want to be the master of my own vision, right? You know? And I want to be able to provide for my family in a much bigger way than just what either a 9-to-5 or just a job is going to bring. I'm blessed because I'm working in ministry as well, so that's not just a job. There's a big mission to that, but there's also a price to be paid in time and money. But
well, do you think he was the one that taught you about it, or do you think everyone has it inside them, and he just brought it to, like, he brought it out? Like, deep down inside, I feel like everybody has that entrepreneurial fire inside them, creative spark too. It's just if you act on it. A lot of people it's dormant, and a lot of people that are like, I don't know, this is all I got.
So I would there's probably a yes to both of that, right? It's like nature versus nurture. You know, is entrepreneurship a nurtured thing that is just in your upbringing, or is it part of your nature? I would probably say that's probably both, right? I think everybody yearns for freedom, but not everyone's willing to work for it. And the other side of that coin too is maybe you just don't know, right? Because how many people are processed through school like, hey, we're going to teach you how to be a good student. You're going to be a good student. You're going to earn your grades. You're going to take your tests. You're going to do the things that we're going to tell you to do so you can get to the next grade. Get to the next grade. You know, you're going to do the things I just told you to do. You're going to go to the next grade. So you can finish high school. So you can go to college. So you can be a good employee. So
you're in the
you can live a 9-to-5,
and then you can enjoy your life at that point.
You can.
Well, I shouldn't say enjoy your life at that point, but
you can enjoy retirement.
Right, enjoy your retirement
because your 401k is going to be okay.
Well, going back to that, like in high school, I always felt like the oddball because I was like, I don't know what I want to do, you know, and it always was like a fire burning in me to be like, I don't want to be told to go to college. Like, again, it comes back to authority. Like, I don't like being a worker drone, you know, and being told what to do. And that's what they want you to be as high school. You do your SATs. All right, you scored good. Okay, you'll get a scholarship and go to this school. I didn't want to do that. Mm-hmm. I didn't purposely flunk my SATs, but I just didn't do well on them. I didn't care.
Look,
like somebody, I just didn't care. But
well, look, man, I didn't even take my SATs in high school. I took them after high school. I didn't study, and I got like an 850. You know.
Oh, I got 900.
Oh, did you take them in high school?
Yeah, I took it in high school, like you're supposed to.
Oh, well.
I did what I was told.
You do. You're a good worker.
But anyways, the guidance counselor's like, hey, what are you going to do with your life? I'm like, dude, I'm 17. What are you asking me that for? I don't know. I didn't even know that there was like a stock market in 17. You know, like, which I should have just focused on that.
Oh, man, right.
Instead, they're like, hey, why don't you take creative studies, liberal arts, and go to school? What? But, yeah, it comes back to that. Like, they just want you to be in the system, to just be a drone. And some people like the comfort of that, knowing, like, hey, I do A, I get the B, I get the C, I get the D. Like, they check off their boxes, and they're like, hey, it's very linear, and you're like, this is cool. I like that. Me, I'm more chaotic, as you know, or you know, but other people don't know. But, like, I'm very chaotic with my brain and can't sit still as I'm rocking. And I can't focus very well. Probably would be diagnosed with something if they had it back then. I don't know. Like, I can't focus ever, but I try my best with my.
Yeah, well, that's a whole nother.
That's a conversation.
Because
that's a different conversation. Because, like, I'm very successful with my job. I'm very successful with. I shouldn't say successful with creating, because everyone can be successful at creating. You know, that's your own person.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that you can be successful at it, right?
So
your success doesn't mean somebody's downfall.
Like, I want to keep being more successful. Like, that's the goal, is like to keep being more successful. Okay. But yeah, I'm very chaotic, like frantic even sometimes. But I don't know where I was going with that. My brain just shut off. See,
it's the chair squeaks.
The chair is squeaking very bad, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Every second I feel like I'm falling backwards.
Just lean a little forward. You'll be all right.
That's good.
So, yeah, boy, that's a whole nother thing, right? But I would be really interested to see some of the test scores. Like, if I was to go back, and this is kind of an outrageous side tangent here. If I was to go back with knowing what I've known now, I would certainly apply myself more in school. Right? When it came to college, I was finally like in tune. The second half of high school, I was finally in tune, and I said, you know what, I need to do something here, and I need to like really apply myself and turn this up, because I was not a good student. Elementary through middle school through the first half of high school, I was not into school. I would just sit there and be like, what am I doing? And one of the things that really turned it up was that threshold of, wow, I'm going to be graduating. I have no idea what I'm doing with the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I have
it's
no
scary.
idea. It was
when
scary.
All your friends are going away and you're like,
ooh, what am I doing?
Okay, well, that hit. Everyone left, and now you're just
it catches
Buffalo
up
in Hamburg, and you're like, that's cool.
It
hits you. It hits you quick.
So then you have to try to figure it out, right? Then you're like, okay, well, what is it that I am actually going to do? Because I need to make something out of nothing now at this point, because I'm walking away from high school with no actual clear direction what I want to do with my life. And a lot of people did, right? Which was great for them, but that was not my circumstance. So right out of high school, I went to ECC, the community college, and thinking, well, maybe this is what I should do. I think the natural step is just to do community college. Like, I should just do college. Mm-hmm. So I did, and it felt like high school all over again. And I was like, these are the same classes I just finished taking, and now I'm paying for it. And not like a small sum. Like,
it's a lot of money.
I was doing some work, but I dropped out after that first semester, and I said, all right, I'm just going to work, because I need to figure out some sort of flavor. I got to figure out something I want to be in pursuit of. And so I did. So I worked at Moog. You know, I cleaned up metal. I cleaned up garbage overnights. Cleaned up the floors. Cleaned up scrap metal. But then that's when things really started clicking. Like a fire just started igniting and saying, I need to move. Like this is going to be my future if this is what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. And I probably could have worked my way into doing more of A&T, like more technical things there, but that was not the situation for it. And I think that God puts in our place moments of time that just bring you just really clear vision. And that was one of those moments of saying, I need to do something else that I'm going to be hungry for. And the one thing I knew is that I had a good work ethic, that I could work hard. And that was what I brought to them. No, they had maybe 3 hours worth of work to do in 8 hours. For me, it was usually old people that were doing that job, so they put them in. So here's this young kid that's eager and hungry, and I went in and I was just crushing out my workload. So like, all right, we'll put you on some special projects. All right, just give it to me. And I was clearing out special project after, and they were starting to run out of that. I was like, I need to be doing something a lot more than this. And so that's when I had a break into the culinary scene, and that was a game changer. But for you, like that creative juice, right? I mean, that was something that was always in you. That was something that kind of pulled out. So what was your experience after high school? Kind of in that same boat of, I need to figure out what I need to do. Like, what was that route once you started connecting dots between that ledge from high school into the working world, finding a place and a path into not only work and career, but also your creativity?
So, I mean, I feel like I felt left behind, like, all my buddies and everyone was going to college, and you're just like, okay, well, I'll figure it out. So I was just working as a server for a little bit, and just didn't know what I was doing, and I was like, well, I'll just keep working. What am I going to do? And then I decided to go to college, just ECC, just to work on something to be like, okay, kind of like what you did where you're like, well, maybe I should just go and see what it's all about. I did like it because I was able to do, like, I did some creative writing. I did some, like, calligraphy classes. I did a lot of, like, random art classes just to see if I liked it or not, and I did. And I don't think that jump-started me into the creative mindset. I think it's always been in my brain, being creative. So, like, I'd always just type. I brought my typewriter to high school and would just type in the courtyard just randomly, and wrote, like, a book, which I still have, which I've never did anything with, but it's still there.
Hey, what?
I have a book that I typed up.
It's not this?
No, I have, like, I think, like, 50 or 60 pages of this book.
What?
I typed up. Yeah, it's like about a kid who runs away from Oregon and has an adventure along the way. It's almost like Catcher in the Rye, where it's like this stream of consciousness almost writing where you're like, what? It's just nonstop, just him talking and dialogue.
Wow. Why didn't you do anything with it?
I don't know. I think I just put it on the table and just left it.
Man, you're going to have to dust that thing off.
Yeah, I might have to look into it. But, like, I don't think college did anything creatively like that. Maybe it, like, got me to, like, use my brain in different ways. Yeah. But I didn't like ECC that much. Like, college it just was the same thing as, like, high school or, like, a job now where you're like, I just do what they say, no matter what. You can't question. If you question, then you're the problem. You know, like, stuff like that, even though you're just asking questions and wondering why. So you just close your mouth and just get your grade. Which is silly. I hate that. I hate that in life, where you can't speak your mind. You just feel if you talk or try having a different idea, then they just put you in your box and be like, hey, focus this way. Or here, look this way, we'll give you food. Or here's an extra comp day, you know. Mm-hmm. It's really silly. It's really silly. But some people eat that up. I hate it.
Worker bee,
yeah.
Worker bee mentality, right? I mean, that's something that is just...
There's only one queen. Everyone else is worker bees. You can't have two...
There's no two queens.
I'm not a queen. Hey!
Slay queen.
Beyonce. No, so from that point, I did college, and I was like, all right, well, I might as well get my 2-year degree or whatever. That's what I have now. It's my 2-year degree in liberal arts. Living the dream.
But
liberalized degree, whatever that means.
Yeah, but
I don't even know what that means.
But here's the thing, right?
Yeah.
I think college is valuable, right? So.
Oh yeah, I don't hate college. I don't hate it.
I'm not against college, right?
Right.
I went back. I got a degree in hospitality management and then another one in entrepreneurship. There is a value to it when you're hungry and you know what you're doing, right? If you're saying, hey, I'm going here with intent. I know why I'm going. It's when you're lost and you just try to use it as a crutch of thinking, like, I'm going to go find myself in college.
Well, it's when they push 350 kids in my class to be like, hey, go to college to be a teacher. 350 kids are going to be a teacher, and then come out of it and realize, oh, there's only 5 teaching positions available.
They're all moving.
Because people stay at their positions for 30 years.
Well, that's great. Hey, that's good for them, though, right? I mean, those are people who are living.
Well, it's silly. They push you into these jobs when it's oversaturated. So that's just what I grew up with. I had 30, 40 of my peers be like, "Hey, you should be a teacher or go and do engineering and stuff." And you're like, "That's cool, but that's not for me." But I ended up going into the Disney college program with you and Joey, and from there I was able to be independent and like try this whole new like world out in Florida for 6 months, and that was cool. Like that helped me be like, wow, okay, so there's a world out here, on my own. And maybe that at that point, like working, even though it's still a corporate job at Disney, seeing like the creative and entertainment industry like that, being like, wow, this is sweet. Like I like this type of style of everything, and like the joy you can bring to people, entertainment. That might have got my juices flowing a little bit, and that's what could have sparked where Rex Felixx is now. Not saying I'm Walt Disney yet.
Well, you're Ryan Jarosz, though.
Maybe. If I grew a mustache,
well,
I might look like him.
More like Ted Cruz.
We don't have to get political.
Hey, listen, we're keeping it real.
I do look like Ted Cruz.
Well, look, that's not political if you say like
the Zodiac Killer.
Oh no,
that's who he is, supposedly.
Well, how about that? Look, that Disney piece, right?
Yeah.
I loved working for Disney, and then we were also the campus reps for a couple of years after that, which was super helpful.
Yeah, that was sweet. Yeah, that was really a good time. Like, so campus rep is like, you do the Disney college program is an internship where we got paid $5 an hour.
No, it was more than that.
No, $5.15 an hour.
Was it really?
Yeah, minimum wage was $5.15. This is 2006. So,
well, all right, keep going.
I came back broke from Disney.
Did you really?
I think I bought too many souvenirs.
Because we were going to Italy that next year.
Oh, that was tough.
I don't know how I did it, but I was able to store away some cash because we were on that payment plan, and so you had to keep putting your payments in. So somehow I was able to just store those things away. But what I loved about Disney was the experience was great because the whole place was a playground, right? You could have access to 40-some square miles of entertainment. You meet people from all around the world. We had friends that were all over the place. Brazilians. My roommate was Mexican. We had friends from all over. But what I loved about Disney was how good they were at hospitality. Like I love hospitality, like just as a concept of like making people feel at home, that you're warm and welcome there. But as a business, man, they're tight. Like they know how to do things well.
I mean, they run it. He doesn't mess around.
It well.
As fun as it looks, behind the scenes, it's business. It's all business.
Yeah, and it's a tight ship. They have
every second is planned. Like you know exactly where you have to be every minute, every hour. It was. There were days where you're like working and you're like, "All right, this is a job," and basically it's like every other job out there where it's pretty much a tight ship. I feel like, but there was something different about maybe it was my first like employment, like job or whatever. like a real job, like a corporation where you're like, wow, okay, this is cool. This is different. You know, they have like paychecks and everything's electronic, and like they got like classes to teach you all this stuff about Disney and like how to be HR management. Like they did all these classes and all this crazy stuff, and you're like, jobs do this? Okay. So it was interesting seeing the like corporate side of it, not just the Disney side of it, but it really was. It was eye-opening. I agree with you on that.
I think one of the things that I really took away, actually, there was a lot of lessons that were drawn from Disney. That was a formative time, but I loved seeing the events behind the scene and what went on to be able to pull those off. That really drew my attention into events and like, wow, how do you put these things together, you know? And it was something, and I loved learning from that. And I took a class on organizational leadership, and it laid a foundation for me of like, wow, how does Disney do this? And gave me a lot of good, valuable lessons. But another thing that I was in tune with was with the wedding planners that were there, and that they gave me a good insight of how do those events work, right? And just on a professional level, like that just fueled me in a way of like, man, I'm learning something of value here that I can actually apply forward, right? Because I remember being in high school thinking like, why am I taking some of these classes that are just, they're not practical to me. I'm not interested. I'm just sitting here checking a clock, right? And that's all I was doing. You got the pencil and
basket weaving.
Yeah. Well, I didn't take basket weaving, but there was plenty of garbage classes that I took that were just not of use. But
what did Keith take just recently? He took writings and poetry of death or something like that as an elective. I forgot. He had to write like his own eulogy or something. Keith, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that was it. But I was like, what? That's a class? Like I wouldn't mind doing that. Like that seems fun.
Well, I mean,
but you're spending how much money on a credit?
Memento mori, you got to remember your death, right? That's the saying.
That's true.
Keep it real.
That is a great.
Okay, so moving ahead from this, right? So we had the shared cluster of what, early 20s of trying to figure life out,
right?
And I think we both started finding a vein with a creative venture. On the food side, for me, like I loved culinary. You know, I did a lot of work in corporate cooking, but then I also had a lot of jobs on the side that were good with like in an actual sense of culinary, and that was a good creative venture, but it wasn't enough. I did a lot of writing and I did video editing actually pretty well, and then I found myself doing some more technical things like website stuff, but I was still trying to find a niche, and then I got into entrepreneurship. You found yourself in a way where you moved yourself along kind of at the same pace, working some jobs, but then you got into sales, right? And you had a real natural knack to that, where, I mean, you're just a natural salesman. You can you can sell people anything, you know, like, hey, you like this round banana peel? $50. What do you like? What's your thing?
Yeah, I could sell bananas to a monkey. Is that thing fish? Water to a fish.
Water to a fish.
No, I don't want to say that. I'm not cocky. Not really. No, I like talking. I do love talking to people. Like I could talk to anybody about anything, about getting them to convince them to purchase something. So yeah, I think like when I got out of Disney, well, at Disney I was able to sell watches, and I sold the most expensive watches to people, and I was like, hey, you're on vacation, just buy a watch, it's cool. And then they're in debt and they're crying probably at home being like, why did I buy this from Ryan? As I'm smiling that I sold a watch.
No, see, Mickey is actually smiling.
Mickey's smiling. I didn't make any money off the watch. I got $5 an hour. But no, I think with sales, it's very, Yeah, I guess you would say I'm a natural on that, and it came naturally, and I've honed in my skill doing what I do with insurance and gotten better at it. One of the best books I've ever read was How to Win Friends and Influence People, or Make Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie.
Oh, yeah?
Dale Carnegie is one of the best writers out there for either just inspiration and just for selling. So when I first got my job at my insurance place, and I was like, all right, I'm in sales now, what do? I don't know. They teach you how to do it, but you're like, okay, well, I want to be the best, so what do I got to do? So I started reading all these sales books, and then I came across this book from 1930s, and I'm like, well, this is old. I like vintage stuff, because I'm weird like that, and I'm like reading, I'm like, this is awesome. So I couldn't put it down. I read it in like a day, but it's one of the best books that you can have for any sales job. But with our timeline, like you were saying, you were into culinary, and me, I went right into like this workforce for Disney and started selling insurance, and found out I was quite good at it, and been doing it since then, and been doing it 15 years. But it wasn't until about 4 years into working there is when I started getting into Felixx primarily, and that's when I started battling, because the money was good and all that with insurance. I'm like, this is cool, this is fun, but then I'm like, what do I want? What more do I want in life? And I know the corporate world, and I could do that, and like you said, just be a drone and have a happy retirement. But there's that fire in me that was always, from childhood until now, and still burning. It's just like, all right, what do I want to creatively do with my life and have a fulfillment? And that's where the Felixx finally came in.
Yeah. So, okay. So you're killing it in sales. You're Geico's top salesman. I mean, either you're number 1, 2, or 3 consistently over the course of the time that you've been there.
I wouldn't say 1 or 2 or 3, but like top percentile, yeah.
Yeah, all right, top percentile.
I would say not number 1 non-stop.
Okay, so
right.
All right,
a lot of people that go like, yeah,
I'm rooting for you.
Top quartile, whatever.
All right, top quartile. But you're still one of their top guys. So right. You're up there making a killing, not only even for yourself, right? So for people who've gone to college, who have been working and trying to incrementally make their way up, there's something about sales that just is naturally like, hey, I'm going to put the effort in, I'm going to make the calls, I'm going to put the sale on, and I'm going to just harvest here. When you take a look at your creative side, and you're taking a look at, well, how do I make this not just a creative outlet, but I want to be able to monetize this and maybe make a living off of this someday. How did you maybe start opening up that can of worms? Because now you've got your book, now you've got some shows that you've been doing, right? And you even have some swag, right? So how do you keep moving in that direction? And is that even something that you want to do at some point? And I don't know if this is something to put on air for Geico to see. Any of your managers are like, listen, worker bee. You're fired.
No, I just it's a good point. Like it's a tough thing. So like the thing with a job is that security, and they tell you what to do, and you're like, okay, cool, I get paid a paycheck. With something creative or with entrepreneur, going out into your own business, it's unknown. You can read as many books as you want, but you got to do something to make money off of it, and that's where Felixx, it's finally starting to like come into play. Where originally I was just doing it just a creative outlet, and I made a website right when COVID happened. Actually, we weren't doing anything. Nothing was going on. I'm like, well, I'm working from home. maybe I can start focusing some time instead of commuting to work. I have an extra almost 2 hours a day, basically, from commuting to do Rex Felixx and figure stuff out. So that's when I really went hard on being like, all right, this is what I love. Let me draw nonstop and write nonstop every single day we're like 3 years after COVID when it started. So from that point, I've been just nonstop doing that. Mm-hmm. And it's very hard to monetize off of that. Like, yeah, I have the book and I got swag and I've got the shows, but it's still a learning curve. Like, it's not perfect. Like the book, it's self-published, so it's not like I got paid to be published. You know, I had to go ahead and do it all myself and make money and monetize it as I go. Going, like you said, like grassroots almost in a campaign where I'm doing everything myself and sending it out to people. Mm-hmm. People see it through Instagram and do it that way. So it is very different than a normal 9-to-5 job, I would say. Like, you don't get a paycheck. Like, you got to just keep grinding and working until eventually either A, you get so good with it that you don't have to have another job, or you get found and you can get published through a big publishing house. But I'm not there for that. Like, I'm still doing what I love creatively, and if it happens, it happens. It would be sweet if it did end up happening, where I could sufficiently live and support a family off of Rex Felixx. Right now I'm not at that point where I could just be like, peace out, I'm out. That's the end goal, hopefully. But even if it, let's say I never hit that mark, I'd still feel fulfillment because I am touching people's lives and helping a lot of people. Randomly I get people that just reply to me on Instagram and just are like, man, that was a great writing today, like that really helped me, you know, and stuff like that makes me keep going. Mm-hmm. Whether I get paid or not, I don't care.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so one of the things that I love about what you're doing is that Rex Felixx actually fits who you are, right? Like that is just an extension of Ryan Jarosz. Right, that nonchalant, like, hey, keep things easy, keep things positive. And if looking at your book, right, and I actually kind of want to pick your brain here a little bit about what it took to get this thing done, right? Because I'm wrestling with that myself on the Iron Ore book, and have been, especially through the publishing process. But one of the bigger things of that was, especially early on, was that imposter syndrome that hit, where it was like, I don't know if I'm, like, who am I to put out a book? You know, who am I to actually do something like that? You know, and so I had to kind of stumble and wrestle through that and overcome that. But looking at this, I mean, this is a work of art. If you take a look at this, I'm going to bring this right up here. These are poems. These are
all originals. Yeah,
all originals. Great doodles of, like, how would you call that? Like doodles of positivity, like just fun.
Yeah, it's just on the back, it's just my life is chaotic, and it's just my emotions on paper. My brain on paper, basically, is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you sit down and complete this? Because I know that you were sitting down and you had just loads of work to be able to go through. You had so much art that you could sit down and filter through. So what was your process of, hey, I'm going to sit down and filter these things through. I'm going to get disciplined on sitting down and doing it. Maybe it was undisciplined. Maybe it was just a chaotic venture, you know. But what was it like at the starting point to say, I have this project, I have this dream to do, and I'm going to see this thing through? Walk me through the early steps, and then how did you start pulling all of that together?
Well, I think my goal and dream was always to be like Shel Silverstein and Dr. Seuss in a way, where I'm like, they made all these books and they're awesome authors, and like I look up to them, and I was like, okay, I got to do it. And it comes back to also, like, in high school, all right, if Ralph Lauren can make T-shirts with his name on it, why can't I? So I'm like, okay, I can do it. So during COVID, I ended up, like I said, just writing nonstop, and I'm like, man, I have all this content. What am I going to do with it? And I started, like, mulling it over and thinking, like, I should put it all in a collection I don't know what will come of it, and makes me feel good when I write and touch people's lives. Maybe I can get it on a broader base and have people see how my brain is and be like, wow, this guy's crazy. This is great. I enjoy that. It's very creative, and I don't know anyone else that has a book like this out there. That's just so bizarre, which I thought was unique. So that's why I was like, maybe I do have this weird niche that can be helpful with people going through a bad day and see a positive writing and be like, wow, that's awesome. Or a random giraffe licking an ice cream cone in a book, and make them giggle and laugh and get back to their day. And that's what it's all about. And it's just about the crazy and zaniness. So before I did that, I ended up during COVID. I actually wrote an album and played a song, did all my own songs and made an album during COVID because I was like, all right, I need a creative outlet. I'm stuck in my house, so I made an album. And I was like, I'm gonna wrap it all together. But what I did was wrote this album. Put on SoundCloud or whatever, and I'm like, I'm always a procrastinator, never finish stuff. So during COVID, I'm like, you know what, let me change my mindset and be like, I'm going to finish everything I do. So I made songs and was like, all right, I'm putting this out there. 10 songs, made an album, boom. And then I actually published it because my dream was like, let me make an album. Never did it before. All right, I did it. Cool. That was step one. And then that brought me into like, what can I do with Rex Felixx and be like, the book. So that's where I came into the book and started curating a lot of my content. And I was like, all right, I'm going to finish this book because I was putting it off and saying, hey, I don't have enough pages. I need more and more pages. And I have thousands of pages. And I got too much stuff and my brain can't focus on like looking at the content because I just got to keep creating. So like sitting down and actually writing it was very tough. But I knew I had to finish it. So that was my end goal, was like, all right, I got a deadline, my own deadline in my brain. Let me finish it by that point. And I wanted to be like 300 something pages. I think it's 330 pages. Now, that's not all writings. That's just drawings and that. But 300 pages I wanted, just to make sure it was thick enough and not just 10 pages or whatever. So with the chaos mindset of my brain always scattered and never being able to focus on anything. Like right now, I'm seeing you move stuff, so my brain's looking over towards that. I'm sorry. So the curation part you're asking about was very tough because I have hundreds of sketchbooks, and I ended up going through and taking with my phone pictures of each one and putting them on my computer, and I started with folders and putting in like inspirational writings, goofy randomness, and I started there. And that at least categorized them to some extent. And then from that point, I just had to go through each one individually and just start looking at each picture and be like, well, this pirate's funny, but is it worth it for the book? I don't know. So I threw it to the side. So on and so forth. It kept going.
So for those of you who are watching, I keep I keep hitting the wrong button at the wrong time, so the cameras keep switching. Thank you for your patience. We're like, what? Who are these guys?
Oh, was that on you the whole time?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Thank you. We're getting there, but hey, that whole process of sitting down and trying to organize your thoughts, putting into something that is actually pleasing, right? That you can actually say, wow, I'm happy with this. I'm content with this. Was there ever a time when you were just about to throw in the towel and you said, wow, you know what? I don't know if this is worth it.
With a lot of things in life, yeah, there's a lot of things where you're like, what am I doing? But this is like my passion. Like, this is what makes me feel alive. Like, yeah, I'm married, I've got kids. But this is something that is truly for my own, like, life. This makes me feel alive. Yeah, I'll take a little more. Never at this point was I ever like, I'm throwing in the towel. And even with like my Instagram, when I first started, the first post I think I ever put was like, there's a gopher coming out of a banana peel, and it was like, potassium, it's great, eat up potassium. And I'm like, what? Don't scroll back that far, it's stupid. but it was funny to me. And I post everything that I think I would laugh at, and I hope there's people that like quirky, weird things that will laugh at it too. So like, there's never a point where I was like, what if people don't like it? What if I can't succeed with it? Like, that's just not in my brain or my DNA with things I'm truly passionate with. Like other things in life, yeah, I'll pull the plug and be like, I'm done. Like, this isn't for me. I'm out. You know, like math, pulled the plug on that quick. Like, that's just throw it in. 4 + 4 is 9. Like, I'm not good with math. Is that right?
No, that's right.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
You like that? Dramatic pause? But no, in all seriousness though, like, Rex Felixx is me. It's not like fake, you know, like, man, I gotta like be an actor or something like that. Mm-hmm. So like, I put my heart and like my whole brain into that. So I feel 100% fulfilled. Whether everybody hates it, I could care less. Like, I don't care. Mm-hmm. And it's really freeing to be the corporate life, doing what everyone else tells you what to do, which is cool. Like, I get a paycheck. But, like, to actually fully feel alive in something, I think that's rare. I talk to many people that don't have anything like that, and makes me sad.
Yeah, a lot of people are walking around as zombies, you know. And that's one of the things that has driven me into Righteous Co, right? A lot of this formulation that has brought me to this, in particular with this concept of iron ore. But I wanted to go back to that spot that you were talking about with having that junk post from way back. Like, don't look at it. Just don't even go back.
You look at it. It's just a gopher with potassium.
Right. Like, one of the best books that I've read that has stuck with me was Company of One by Paul Jarvis. And he lays out entrepreneurship in a way that was just so fulfilling and attractive as somebody who is building their company as a solopreneur. And one of his concepts was iterations. And just talking about iterations. They're like, don't sit here and wait for perfect. Get started right away and refine and hone along the way. And, you know, looking backwards, I'm probably still in a lot of that refinement phase with Righteous Co. But I think even for yourself as a solopreneur with Felixx, it doesn't matter what the early stuff is. Entrepreneurship is all about the risk of failure, right? So putting that ability to say, you know what, I'm going to put myself out on the line, and I'm risking failure by doing this, and just going against that fear that steps in and says, nah, don't do it. Play it safe. Just sit down. Worker bee. Mm-hmm. That's what you're called to be. Just do that. Do the thing. Just sit there. Play it safe. Be comfortable. Complacency is a beautiful thing, you know. And I'm not saying corporate living is complacency, right? If you're doing it right, hey, you're at the edge of your seat. You're doing well. But a lot of people sit into comfort a little too quickly, and then they realize, wow, I'm doing something that is not filling my heart at all. But they get afraid of doing something that might actually be tickling their heart a little bit. That call that says, hey, you're made for something greater. But they become afraid. They sit down, and they're not willing to take the risk. And that first step is a risk, because you put something out there that maybe you're not so well honed into, but you have a super interest in, like, you enjoy that, you have some value that you can bring to the table, but it's not up to par where you think you could be. And you're just thinking, you know, I'm going to sit on this, and I'm going to let the moment pass. I'm going to let it just walk by me. But when you step into it and you say, you know, I'm going to do it no matter what it looks like, you have that mentality, I'm open to failure. You know, this could be the dumbest thing I've ever done, but I'm going to put it out there. And then you do it again. And then you do it again. And then you do it again. And then you do it again better, right? And all of a sudden you look back, you're a few iterations away from when you started, and you're better. You have that experience behind you of saying, hey, you know what? This looks better. It feels better. It's not 100%, but I'm at least 10% better. I'm like 20% better. You know, wow, I'm getting close to 70% better, right? And we never hit perfection because it's always a pursuit, but
Right.
for you to say, hey, I don't care where I'm at with this, I think that's actually a great lesson for anybody sitting at home and maybe hearing this and thinking, wow, I'm a little afraid of taking a step in a direction because I'm afraid to fail. And don't feel afraid of failing and feeling dumb about that, because that is entrepreneurship, right? That's the fear of failure that sinks so many people's dreams. They say, I'm already doing this thing. I don't know if I can actually just move ahead with that thing that's on my heart. So what you're doing with Felixx of saying, you know, I don't care what I'm putting out there. It's something that's coming from my heart, and I have an eye for what my design is. But if somebody doesn't like that, who cares?
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think that's exactly correct. Like, so many people just give up on their pursuit of, I don't want to say pursuit of happiness, because people can be happy and work in the corporate life, but people give up too easily on things that they love. Whether it's writing, drawing, playing music, they're like, well, I got a job now. I don't have time. I don't have time for any of this. Whether it's to fulfill themselves, to feel some spark of creative joy, and I hate that. Really, it irks me, because there's so many talented people in this world that are like, well, I'm busy, you know, I got kids, I got my job, I don't have time to like sit down and play piano or guitar. And it's like,
but you know what? These are legitimate things, right? To say, I'm busy, like I've got a family, right? I got there's a lot of things that you could say that are legitimate.
There's always legitimate excuses.
Yeah.
You can make excuses all day.
You can, right? But then you sit back and you say, wow, it's 5 years later and I still am in the same place I was before.
I still haven't picked up the guitar in 5 years. And you're kicking yourself. Or just anything. Like, you could say that with, I'm too busy to go to the gym. For your own health, you know, like, it's your own life. Even though you have other obligations, and I'm feeling it out with having 2 kids and, you know, having a wife and working and trying to do this. It's tough to juggle, and I can make all the excuses and just give up everything and be like, well, whatever, you know, but I don't. And I think that's that entrepreneur mentality where you're like, what's the next thing? You know, keep going and keep going and going and going. Don't give up, no matter what. And no matter how messy it gets and how hard it gets, I never tried giving up. That's a cool thing. Like, I don't know. It's tough to say. Like, no matter what, I can carry any burden in my life and just carry it. Like, nothing's too big for me, which is whether it's dad instilling it in my brain or, you know, just having that mentality of like, hey, you know, you're a man. You can do everything you can to support the world. Like, put the world on your shoulders. You could carry it. You know. So I think that just my whole life has just been like, never give up and always keep pursuing your dreams, no matter what anyone says. Like, I don't care if someone says you're never going to make it. It doesn't matter to me. Like, you're not hurting my feelings. Like, I've heard it 20 times, a million times. Like, it doesn't matter. You just have to find deep down inside what you're passionate with and love what you're doing, whether you're making money on it or not at this point of your life, and whether you choose to decide that, hey, I want to monetize it or not. You got to do it for yourself. Mm-hmm. So whether, like you said, hey, I got obligations and stuff like that, that doesn't mean you give up on your specific dream. And I talk to people and they're saying like, well, I don't have any dreams. And it's like a dagger to me, even though it's not my life. But I'm like, what? You know, like, what do you mean you don't have dreams? You know, like, everyone has to dream. You go to sleep, you're dreaming. Just because you don't remember it doesn't mean you don't have a dream. So, if you're listening,
a dream is a wish.
If you're listening,
our heart makes.
I want you to have the best life you can ever have. Whether you're working a 9 to 5, doesn't matter. You got to pay the bills, but you should be striving for something that will make you feel fulfilled. when you die, like, you're going to die. Everyone dies.
Hey, listen, speak that right into the camera. Because
it's important.
There are people right now who are listening to this, like maybe 3 of them.
Maybe
the 3 of you.
There might be 3 or 4.
There might be 3 or 4, but whoever is listening to this right here, right now, you need to hear this, right? You want to live a life that is alive, and it doesn't mean that it's the greatness that the world is offering, right? It's not just saying, hey, you need to be X, Y, and Z great, right? You need to be the top dollar maker. You need to be making the big stuff, working for X, Y, and Z. Like, that's not it. But when your heart is alive, when you've got a man that is alive, boy, that is somebody who cannot be torn down. So what you're talking about right here, you're speaking that right into the person who's listening. So if you're sitting here thinking,
well, it's speaking to myself, it's speaking to you. Because, I mean, honestly, like, we've been trained since childhood to just be a worker drone and just to work and get a job. And throughout the job or throughout your life, you have that feeling of like, man, I got this spark in me. What can I do with it? And either you go 100% in that when you're young and you're like, wow, okay, I'm a musician and that's what I do, or whatever. Or you're taught to just be like, don't worry about it, put your dream on hold, don't stress about it, or don't worry about it. And then you get caught in this facade of like, get a job and pay the bills and get married and have kids and that's it. And I feel like that's semi-true, but we always forget to take care of ourselves. And I feel like creatively you have to be able to take care of yourself, whether it is taking care of your own hobby that you're doing to get a creative outlet. Like I first started doing my writings and drawings and was just like, I'm doing this for me, and now I'm branching out to try touching people's lives. Or it's all about just doing something that brings you joy, whether it's hiking, biking, I don't know, skateboarding, whatever. You need to find your thing that is going to bring you joy outside of your normal payments, with grinding and working for the man. Because when you die, I'm sorry, but your job is going to move on. Whatever you're working with, they might throw you a good retirement party, but at your eulogy, are you really going to be talking about your insurance sales? Or are you going to really be talking about, man, I'm really good at my analytical computer job? No, they're going to be looking at what you brought to this world. And that's what I'm trying to do, is leave a legacy for myself and my kids and my family, and touch people's lives at a whole different level than anything I could do with talking about insurance.
No.
All the lights went
Man, preach that. Yeah, so...
That's okay. It feels good.
Well, actually, we're going to have to actually maybe wrap this up because we're starting to lose our cameras. But...
well, one last thing. So, one last thing I just want to say real quick, and then we can go into that. But no matter who you are, you have a purpose. Whether anyone tells you that you don't have a purpose, you do. And just because you haven't found it yet doesn't mean you don't have that purpose. So with Felixx, whatever you want to say, it's been juggled around different ways of saying it. King Happy is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
You need to find who you are inside and let that shine outside. Don't let anyone tell you like you're worthless, you're a loser, you're dumb for liking random gophers coming out of potassium, talking about bananas coming out of potassium, or just random things in your life where you feel like, man, this gives me joy, this gives me happy. Just be yourself, and the rest is going to start following suit. Don't worry about like, man, I can't make any money off of it. Like if you feel cool doing it and you feel happy doing it, whether you're hiking 50 miles a day and you feel good about that, you may not make money off of it, but you're feeling something inside. And that's what life is about, is like, I don't know, like you got to feel an emotion. And that's what it comes down to with what I write, is I want you to feel an emotion and emote and try getting that spark lit again. And that's what Rex Felixx is all about.
Wow. Hey, man, I love that. But hey, to maybe round out this conversation here a little bit, thank you for tuning in, because this has been a good conversation. Look at us just bleached in light here. Hey, look, if you have really enjoyed this conversation, I want you to know a couple of things, just to bounce off of what Ryan was talking about here. You do have a purpose. You have a design in your life, and God is the one who has put that there. And one of the things that you need to know about this is that when you pursue that greatness of the Lord, He will draw that out of you, and just surrender that over to Him, and He's going to give you a life worth fighting for, worth living for, and in living a life on fire. As St. Catherine of Siena said, if you are who God made you to be, you will set the world on fire. And that is 100% true. Mm-hmm. So live out the life that God gave you in a big way. Don't waste it. Life goes by really quick. One of the things I've been thinking about a lot lately, especially since Izzy just turned 6, and I hear this a lot. She's 6, so the older guys who are listening to this are like, my kids are graduated from college, having babies themselves. But they'll say the same thing. Life goes by so fast. Don't waste it. It's a gift. Every moment is a gift. And that's the message of Rex Felixx here and his world according to. But that's the message of life, right? Just don't waste it. And if you enjoyed this conversation in all of its quirkiness and technical prowess, subscribe, like it, and pass this on to somebody else. We're building this podcast up from the ground, and we're going to build something that is amazing. This is the Iron Ore Podcast, and what we're talking about is, what is it that you are made for? What are you made for? What are you made to do with this life? And whatever that is, take it by the horns. Own it. Love it. And pursue it. I'm here to help. So Righteous Co, go to righteousco.com and check out the stuff that we're cooking up there. And at the very least, you're going to want to pick up this book. You're going to want to follow Ryan's stuff at rexfelixx.com, following on Instagram, and buy his swag. Check it out. Just, you're going to want to wear it because it's comfortable, it's cool, and it's quirky because man, it's just cool art, right? Nobody's making this stuff. You wear it around, and he's got hats, he's got shirts and sweatshirts. We actually did a collab a little bit ago of a t-shirt with Righteous Co. He made it a design just for that, which was really cool. So jump on board the Rex Felixx train and give him a little support over there. So with that, hey, you guys keep dreaming, keep doing, and keep being righteous out there. And we will see you next time. The next time that you're going to see me on here with a guest is going to be with Kyle Lucy. He is a 46er in the Adirondacks. He's a mountaineer, mountain man. He's just been out in the wilds. On top of that, successful businessman in finance, husband, father, man of faith. You're going to love that conversation because we're going to jump into his story and what it means to be just a man on fire. And on top of that, we're going to be pitching the Iron Ore Retreat for men this summer in August. Last weekend in August, we are climbing the tallest mountain in the Adirondack Mountains, Mount Marcy, capping off a 3-peak series, 3 years in a row, ending with the highest. You're going to love it, being out in the mountains, fresh mountain air. If you're a man and you need to get alive, sign up. Registrations are open. And actually, Ryan here has been on these retreats himself. Ryan, can you just say a word about this before we log off here? Tell me about the retreat. Tell the people.
Yeah, it's really an awesome time, like a bunch of dudes just hanging out, going to the Adirondacks, and growing in our faith, growing in the camaraderie with one another, and climbing that mountain. There's nothing that beats nature with either just inspiration or just a reset. So if you're on the fence, come on out. You got Adam, you got me, you got a bunch of other dudes just hanging out, a bunch of men trying to grow with one another and talk about a lot of things, but mainly just trying to get a jump start on, their life, and trying to figure out, like, what are we trying to do together on this retreat, and also just trying to be stronger men. And I think that's an awesome thing when you have a bunch of men together to hike 8 miles together, talk, get to know one another. I think it's really awesome.
I think one of the things that's a huge strength of this is certainly that mountain scene, right? There's a huge challenge of getting out onto the mountain, and these are not easy mountains. These are tough climbs, and you can do it, right? There's challenges certainly on the mountain, but you can take that challenge. You can do the mountain, and you can do the mountains in your own life.
You just have that mindset to never quit. So just keep on taking that mentality of never quitting in anything you do. You'll be fine.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine. So with that, hey, thank you for tuning in. I hope this episode was great for you. We will have maybe an episode or two in between Kyle, Lucy, and now. Just some one-offs that will be a little shorter in nature, bringing a little extra value to you as you dream, do, and be righteous. Anyways, thank you. Guys, we will see you next time. Adios.